Greetings, I'm Keith Klein, the host of the VentureFizz podcast, where I interview the most fascinating people in the tech scene. This is episode 420, and today's guest is Megan Lanham, CEO and co-founder of Rithmm. The betting industry has exploded over recent years. Apps like Kalshi now make it possible to bet on pretty much anything, like what companies will go public this year or where the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce wedding will take place. But let's face it, the industry is driven by sports betting. Last year, per ESPN, the sports betting industry hit a record $16.9 billion in revenue, which is a massive, massive number. And according to the American Gaming Association, Americans are expected to legally wager over $3 billion on March Madness alone. Professional sports bettors have a team of quants running models all day long, which is their competitive advantage. So what if there was an app that gave you, the everyday consumer, the same competitive advantage? Meet Rithmm, the AI-powered sports betting platform that surfaces the top betting opportunities backed by predictive models and explained by data. It's not just what to bet, but why. It's like having your own data science team in your pocket. The company has raised $8.75 million in funding. In this episode of our podcast, we cover lots of great topics, like the state of the industry of sports betting and why parlays are your worst enemy, Megan's background story growing up in Illinois and playing basketball in college and then coaching D1 for a decade, joining a life sciences staffing company at the ground level, scaling to an acquisition, and moving into a CEO role, the decision to head to MIT Sloan for her MBA and how it inspired her current startup, all the details on Rithmm and a demo of the app, acquisition strategies for attracting users, entrepreneurial advice for women founders, what success looks like for Rithmm, and so much more. Okay, quick side note. If you are listening to this podcast, then it is highly likely that you are interested in the founder journey and lessons learned around building companies. So please make sure you don't miss any future episodes by subscribing to the VentureFizz podcast on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, or SoundCloud. Oh, and please don't forget to leave us a review. It really does help us out. All right, without further ado, here's my interview with Megan. Megan, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Keith. Happy to be here.
I'm excited to talk to you because we have a lot to cover, and your career, I look at it as very inspirational. So I have two daughters in college, one about to graduate, another one that's a sophomore, and I just look at the paths you've taken, which I think is really, really interesting. That it wasn't one lane. You expanded into athletics and then staffing, and now running a startup AI company that's helping people bet better. So we're going to talk about all those different chapters throughout your career. But since you are CEO of Rithmm, I wanted to talk first about the betting side. So the company that you're running is obviously the layer on top of thinking about being a better performance around your betting strategy. But before we get into the weeds of what your company is doing, let's talk about the industry of betting, because it has gone through so much radical change through the years of legalized and state by state by state. And then you start seeing these other trends of these apps that are allowing you to bet on anything, like Kalshi, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. So what are the trends that you're seeing in this industry? Because it's a lot.
It is a lot. I mean, the biggest trend right now are the prediction markets. It's a massive shift, which I'm thrilled about. And first, it was Kalshi. So Kalshi, Polymarket, and now, Coinbase is involved. You've got Robinhood that's involved. You've got Crypto.com. You've got then DraftKings and all the other fanatics that are layering prediction markets on top. You've got startups, Novig, ProfitX, that are getting approved as we speak to be a prediction market. So it's been a wild ride the last, really since September, it feels like, is when Kalshi and Polymarket, they've been around, but the big shift was when they decided to go into the sports side, right? And so that just opened up, it's a little bit like, if you think about when Uber entered the game with taxi drivers. That's kind of how I view it, like massive innovation and massive different, not having to go through the regulatory that sports books have to go through. A different, but not the levers to enter a market are very much easier that way than a sports book. So I think
I didn't realize that.
that's
So the prediction market doesn't have the same regulatory approval that is required to be a sports.
No, they're on the financial side. And on the financial side, you're available in 50 states. You're not a sports book. So you're available in all states, and you don't follow the state's demand. You're federally backed, and you don't have to follow state's demands. That there's some funkiness of a sports book. Even like in Massachusetts, like you can't bet on Massachusetts college, any Massachusetts college. Like those things are just frankly gone. You're a trading company versus a betting company, so you fall under. So again, it's like very easy to enter this market now. Like when cabs, the taxi had to have that medallion, and then Uber came in and Lyft came in, and like it just opened up that entire market in a different manner. It's very much happening right now, but there's some greatness to that. Listen, I'm pro prediction market. I can share. I bet on sports books, and I bet on the prediction market, and I can share my experience on both and why I'm bullish, why I'm very excited about it.
Well, I'm a casual bettor on the sports side. I do love, college, pro football for the most part, occasional NBA, um, occasional golf, but it's mainly, football. But I am interested in kind of digging a little bit deeper in the prediction market. So like how do you know what to even bet on in that world? Because it's so broad.
Well, I don't bet. Let me be really clear. I only bet on sports. So I don't in the prediction market world, which by the way, if you look at the numbers, like 90% of their handle or their volume is now on sports. So yes, you can go bet on political events, and you can go bet on
And companies going public. They
cultural
can bet on if
events,
they can.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, who's going to release this album now? Those are not things that I use it for. I use it strictly for sports. And obviously how's my decision layers work is I run a Rithmm, which is a predictive modeling company for sports bettors and sports traders that provide a predictive model that's typically reserved for professional bettors. And we've decreased the complexity to give that to people. So I'm using math to help make decisions. And obviously, still a bit of a human layer, there's still some of that. You can strip that down and actually just use it. But there's some college basketball I still like to use my brain on, but that's how I make my decisions. You get on these sites and it's very clear. For me, it's very clear. It's like I go into it, I look to see what Rithmm has, what my model has, and then I make decisions based on price. And on a lot of these prediction markets, the price is cheaper because there's no house, because it's liquidity. You're just playing against each other. Right. So if it's liquid, and they show you the liquidity, which is what I love. They show you, here's how much has been traded on this game. Here's how much is available. And then it live feeds throughout then people just trade live, and they're showing every trade. It's fascinating.
So you're exposing me to a market that I'm not really deep, and I need to download just to see what this is all about because it sounds really fascinating. Now, for the sports books, so we're going to talk about how Rithmm works and everything, and how it helps enable someone like myself to make better decisions. But there was an interesting point that you had made, before we started recording, and it was what are the biggest mistakes that consumers make when it comes to betting?
The biggest mistakes are parlays. Now, let me say this: they're incredibly fun and entertaining. It's not a mistake if you're going into your parlay where it's like, guys, this is probably not going to hit. And you need to know the probabilities of hitting. If you put a 2-leg parlay, a 3-leg, every time you add a leg, your probabilities decline dramatically. So like, if you go into a parlay and you're like, all right, I know I'm probably going to win 4 out of 20, and that you can still get ahead. You just got to be careful with how many legs you're doing. Like, there is a path here. But the bottom line is this. When you have FanDuel, when you have the CEOs of massive sports books, when asked, who are our best customers? And they say, the people that bet on parlays. And then if you go into their financial statements and you look at how much revenue they're generating from profit, from people betting on parlays, that is the story. Now, that is Some people describe it as I'm paying for entertainment. It's low risk, high payout. I'm fine to throw $5 down to get 1,000. I would have spent 5 on a coffee. Fine. That is not a mistake. However, like that is one. That's the big one, is just like setting expectations of the probability of these things winning. Number two is, your what we call your unit size and how much you bet per game. So you should have a bankroll, and then you should say 1 to 2% of that on every game. And so you're not chasing, you're not that's the best way to do it. Again, this is for people that isn't thinking in terms of entertainment, right? And then number three would be chasing. Like, I just lost and now I got to throw something heavy down. Like, no, like you lost, move on, and tomorrow's a new day. Like, just being a little more methodical. But that's called that's non-emotional betting, and betting is very emotional.
Now I know why when you open up DraftKings or FanDuel, the parlays are right there in your face. The design of the app is like, hey, this is, and so many people are playing this, just to give you the heads up. Like, this is obviously a good potential for you. And that's always your friend's story. It's always like, oh, I had a 6-leg parlay and I had 5 in the last one. Like, it's so gut wrenching.
It's the story of yes. And we're trying to help people with parlay. We have so many people using Rithmm to make parlays, which we didn't intend for that, but it is where the consumer's going. And so we have a parlay optimizer that will tell you if you have a bad leg in there, but we also tell you like these are hard to win and the probability is still low. We had it in one of the largest sports books come to us not last year, not the last year. Yeah, it's been and they asked us, they wanted to have Rithmm, which was, listen, it was really hard. Like, you can imagine saying no to one of the biggest sports books was like, am I doing the right thing here? But here's what happened. We were talking to them about partnerships, and they said, I think the biggest thing we could do to showcase your app would be have a Rithmm made parlay. Like right now we have celebrities. You go on there and you see celebrities that make parlays, you've got Dave Portnoy and things like that, and they're like, why don't we put a Rithmm built parlay where you guys feed us a parlay every day and then we'll put it up. And we left that call and said, no, we did not feel comfortable walking people into the lowest probability bet type. And that wasn't the kind of, my thing was like, I want people to trust Rithmm. Us throwing up a parlay on the biggest sports book, and we're not a celebrity. We're a smart company. It's not really on brand for us. But of course, it could have, who knows what it could have done, but it just didn't feel right at the time. And it still doesn't, to be honest. But like, these were things coming at us really early, and we rejected it.
All right, well, let's talk about your background story, because I've already kind of teed that piece up where you've had these different chapters. So let's start at the beginning. Where'd you grow up? What were you like as a child?
Grew up in a very small town in like the middle of Illinois called Sheffield, Illinois, 900 people strong. Farming community, parents, dad was a steel worker. My mom worked every job possible, like worked for the school, worked for the doctor's office, like whatever. So 2 working parents that went to work every day, that no matter what. And my childhood, I had 2 older brothers, so I was the youngest of 3, the only girl in the family, so I got some pretty good treatment, as you can imagine. And I was a rugrat, like your typical, really, it's like your typical, like 900 town, like raced around town, didn't come home till dark, hung out with all my friends. It's like, for people dating ourselves, it really felt like the Goonies, jump on the bikes and just start taking off around town doing adventures. My days were spent outside playing any sport possible and building tournaments. Like we would just build tournaments with all the neighborhood friends. Like someone would go buy like, trophies, and we would build tournaments and hand out trophies and just do stuff like that with the town of 900. So it was awesome. I had an amazing childhood. I just got to do whatever. I got to play. I got and I just have really great friends and try things and do whatever. It was awesome.
And then you went on to play basketball in college.
Yeah, so like I was an athlete growing up. I was always playing basketball. I was playing all sports. I played tennis, golf, any sport. I was um, on the baseball team, the only girl, one of those things. We didn't have a softball team. Golf, there was no girls golf, so I was playing with the boys. And that's just how I grew up. And then those were the opportunities. But I loved basketball. And so played basketball, went to college, played basketball. I went to Illinois Central College first for 2 years, which I played for a Hall of Fame coach, Coach Lorraine Ramsey. I won 2 national titles there. And she's a mentor of mine and really set the groundwork for just how to function. Like my parents and Coach Ramsey were like three people that were like, you work hard, you're consistent, you strive for excellence, like you don't let people down. Like they were very clear early on. Um, then I transferred to Winona State University, a D2 school in Minnesota, played there for 2 years. And then I went on to coach Division I basketball, which was a dream of mine. Like I had I wanted to coach basketball. Now, at the time in college, it's like, what do you even, at that time, it wasn't like you had Pet Summit, but like, it wasn't, it was, people were like, well, what kind of degree are you going to get and things in that nature. But that was my goal. And so I left college, went right into coaching. I went back and coached under Coach Ramsey for 2 years, and then went on to coach Division I for a decade, which was awesome.
What was that experience like? Because to start out in college coaching, you got to work your way up, right? Like it's a grind.
Oh, it's a grind. Oh, you're like a peon when you start. Like you're doing, you name it. Like, and that's just, yeah, it basically, I mean, here was the cool part for me. But then when I moved on to other places, like obviously you didn't get certain opportunities because of where you are on staff, right? But when I first started with Coach Ramsey, she was like, I played for her. I came back to coach with her. I wasn't getting, by the way, wasn't getting paid. Let me be really clear. When I came back, she was like, hey, you want to come back and coach with me? I'm like, I mean, obviously I want to see the behind the scenes. I've been a player of yours. Let's see what really happens. And half the time I was terrified as a player, so I was like really excited to. She was kind of like a Bobby Knight, so I was really excited to see like what does she do behind the scenes. Like then I was young, but she was like, "Hey, listen, you're gonna have to open the fitness center at 5:30 in the morning. Then you're gonna work there, and then I got you a job in the mailroom. You're gonna go work with the mailroom ladies, and then you're gonna come and you're gonna coach then with me. And then, oh, by the way, there's this place called Superstar Sports Centers. It's like this overnight thing for kids. And you're gonna wear a baseball jersey and like be at the counter and like host sleepovers. And she's like, that's the only way you're gonna be able to afford to come here and do this. And I was like,
Right.
yeah, that sounds awesome.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
That's
So that's
awesome.
what I did. I had the best time because fitness center, got to meet all these great people. The ladies in the mailroom just were awesome. And then seeing Coach Ramsey like behind the scenes. And she basically she was like, you're going to coach the guards. And I was like, what do you mean? I don't know how to coach the guards. I'm here to learn. She's like, no, that is learning. Tomorrow, you're leading the guards. And that was like a huge moment for
Wow.
me. And it kind of yeah. And I'm like, I mean, that school wins championships, um, and there's a legacy there, and like there's great players. And so I was like, whoa, okay, this is what it's gonna be. And so she was like, yeah, like I'm throwing you in the fire. You'll do it. Come to me if something goes south, but like you're in charge. I'm gonna be in the middle. I got somebody coaching the post. I got somebody coaching the guards. You're the guard coach. And so that was that. And then obviously then when I left there, I went on to some places where I was ready to coach the guards, but maybe didn't have, maybe somebody else was doing that. So I had to like take a step back and do film exchange. There's a zillion things that are really boring that coaches have to do. But that's, yeah, the nature of it is like you get your hands on everything. And then when you do reach, which is really good because when I became the CEO, you really understand, you're a head coach. You understand what everyone is doing and what needs to be done. And you know, it- you're really excited about the person doing the smallest task really well because that was you and you know how it impacted everything. So I was happy to have to do all of that.
And that's a perfect analogy of just running a company and being the founder and because you were also head of recruitment for URI, right? So you're a
Yes.
coach and head of recruiting. So you have to recruit the best team to perform the best on the court. Same thing with running a company, the best team to perform the best to do what you're trying to accomplish with that, the entrepreneurial pursuit. So there's a lot of parallels there, right?
It was like the best, like when I left, so yes, I was the associate head coach and my job was head of recruiting, both at like the last 3 schools that I coached at. And I was really good at recruiting. And that was just reading kids, reading parents, and intangibles that would directly correlate to the type of systems each program was running and how to do that. And building networks. So, you can compound you're only one person, so you need networks to build it, to compound your time. So that was great because then when I transitioned to the business world, like what I found was it was really easy and I was really astonished by how easy it, people that work in Division I sports, like it's night and day. You were in it all day long and all night long. You live and eat and breathe the program. You don't even know it until you leave, and then you're like, oh, people have weekends. Like I didn't even know when someone asked me. Yeah, like first time I was in a corporate setting, somebody was like, what are you doing on the weekend? And did not know how to answer that. I know that sounds so weird, but I really did not know how to answer that because I had not had a weekend. And I was like, oh, this is going to be like a free weekend, right? Um, so the business, it definitely taught it. Yeah, like like I was running the business as a coach, and then you get into the real business world, and it's like this is easier because it's actually easier. There's more things controllable than 17, 18-year-old kids.
And so after coaching, what'd you do next?
After coaching, I so where I thought I was going and where I landed, two different stories. I had we won't get too far into that. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but I really thought I was going to be in the FBI or the CIA. Yeah. And so I had applied and was going through that process. And then and I really thought that would happen. And it almost did, the FBI situation. And then because I was like, where are my skills? Where can I really utilize my skills? And I really thought that would be a really good transition. Um, and then someone said, a friend of a friend, and this is how this stuff happens. This is why networking is really important. And it's like, hey, I know someone that has a startup. Um, your skills would be really transferable here. And I was like, yeah, I'm not really wanting to do staffing. I didn't know anything about it. I was really looking to either be in like that field, that more of the service field, or maybe go work for Nike or like other, more in the sports arena. But I was, I was like, no, you got to meet this founder. She's amazing. She's got this really interesting idea where she's trying to change a very archaic industry, and she's just getting started, and you should meet her. And I did, and that was that. And I was like, oh, this is super interesting. And I was I was curious, and I was like, okay, I'll do this for like a year because I would like to see this archaic industry, if this new kind of model that she has could actually, like, how hard would it to be to move like kind of like a Navy ship? That's kind of how it felt like. And I was interested in that. That seemed like challenge. And I liked the team. I loved the team. I was like, these guys are great. We're going to be sharing a basement office. That my first day on the job, I had to share a desk with one of the co-founders, and he was like staring at, I was like facing this way, and this guy was facing this way, and I'm like, this is really wild. But I'm like, I guess I don't know any better, and this is a startup, and this is just what we have, so we're in it together. We're gonna get real comfortable real fast, and he's gonna hear every conversation I have, and he's going to help me. So that was like the thing of transparency and just being open. And I was fine with that because when you play basketball and you coach, like you're on a floor and you've got a ton of fans and you're putting it out there. So for me to have somebody just sit there and stare at me, as that was weird, but it was also like, well, it's kind of like what we do in games. People just stare at you and you better perform. If you shoot an air ball, you're probably going to get screamed at. So if I screw something up on some of these calls, maybe he's going to start yelling air ball to me. And I've heard that before. I can handle it. So that was the deal. And so I started there really well. And then they approached me to be a joiner, which means invest in the company, get shares, and let's build this thing and let's see where it goes. So then I became, you know, a shareholder, and you know, I owned some of the company. And so then it became, okay, how are we scaling this? And that really took off, which was really awesome.
So this is PharmaLogics, which was providing staffing solutions to pharmaceutical companies, like clinical type of,
Correct.
like what was the specialty?
Yeah, so PharmaLogics is a life science staffing company, and it's primarily focused in um, more C-level. It started with a little more C-level, mid-management, not entry level. That's where we were. We were mid-level beyond. It has evolved now to a full scope, but where we started was like, let's start with mid-level, you know, 150,000 salary and above. But now we do it all over. I mean, they do it all over there. But it was your, you know, think of Novartis. They want to do a build out, or they need, you know, a certain, you know, head of manufacturing, things of that nature. They would contact us. And then obviously this whole startup that was, you know, in Kendall Square, every startup we had a, you know, a business arm that would help startups, because it's different than helping Pfizer's and Novartis's and Novo Nordisk's. They're very different than helping a startup. So we then started having services that offered both. We ended up going from US only. I was in charge of building our business out in Switzerland, starting an office in Switzerland. So I spent a lot of time in Basel. That was really cool. And a lot of work. And so that's and then we ended up selling to a private equity firm, um, and then moving forward.
Because eventually you became CEO of the entity that had multiple brands under it, if I'm phrasing it right. Epic was the mothership, and then there was the PharmaLogics and others under the umbrella.
Yeah. So the private equity team, they bought us. They had never bought a staffing company. This was their first time. So they were very keen. They saw the margins were amazing. The EBITDA was amazing. So they were like, this is quite something. Okay, we're going to watch you for a year, and then we'll come back with what we think and how to help, which I really appreciated. And I know there's a lot to be said about private equity. I actually loved having being run, like helped by private equity. I think you have to just be like super goal oriented. Like, you just, here's what we're doing, go execute. And if it's kind of just that way, it was very much like a sports team. Um, and so that was great. So basically the founder took their chips off the table. I became the CEO. And then during that time, the private equity firm, after a year, said, this is amazing. We're going to go build a conglomerate. So we're going to go out and buy a bunch of companies. We'll be the umbrella. We're going to call it Epic Staffing. And then under it, it'll be like life science staffing, PharmaLogics will own. Then we'll have like school counselors, physicians, all these other healthcare. We'll have all these other verticals under Epic Staffing. We're going to do this, and we're going to sell it in 4 years. So buckle up. And so, yeah, so then that was like, okay, we just did a bunch of organic growth, and now it's like, we need you to keep growing organically, but also we're going to go out and buy a bunch of companies. Some are going to roll up under PharmaLogics. So now you need to figure out, you'll be in the rooms when we're buying companies. to make sure you're vetting them properly and doing all the due diligence. In addition, when we do buy one, like, you have to integrate people and tech and systems. And so those are all new skills you have to learn on the job. Or you have to go find people that do it, but a lot of it still falls back on like you. I mean, that's just how this goes, no matter what people say. And so that's what we did. And we sold it then in 4 years to the Pritzker organization in 2022, for a very nice, a very large amount. And so then I was in the room with, like, you know, sovereign funds and people with really deep pockets and big, buying a conglomerate takes a lot of capital. So that was awesome. That was really, I mean, it was awesome. It was also terrifying at times. And, yeah, yeah. But it obviously ended well.
Well, along those lines, so you become CEO of this conglomerate. You decide to go back to B school to Sloan. so,
Yeah.
so let's layer
Yeah.
some other stuff on your plate.
I wasn't well, time out. I wasn't the CEO of the conglomerate. I wasn't the one, they had a guy on top who's awesome.
Got it. Okay, that's
And
fine. Yep.
yeah. I stayed in charge of PharmaLogics, and then one of the companies that we bought that we thought we would roll up under PharmaLogics, we ended up having to roll them out, and then they're called Orbis Clinical. And so I became CEO of Orbis Clinical because we couldn't roll. So I was running two companies, and then there was a guy on top of Epic that was making sure we're sharing system. As a conglomerate, you need someone running that. Mark Siegel, he's amazing. I still talk to him today. Another just like great mentor. I learned so much from him. Couldn't have, he was awesome to be under. So he was super helpful. So yeah, so then I go to Mark and I say, hey, I think I need a little more analytical training. I want to go to school, back to school. And he was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, like I want to do this. Yeah. And, well, will you let me, And he was like, okay. As I said, I promise you, this is only going to bring value to the company. The company will not suffer. If it ever did, I would leave B school. And you know me by now. Like, I'm not going to let something slip. But I know this can make the company better. I know we don't have certain things, and I know I don't have certain skills that I believe for us to scale more efficiently, I can go learn at B school and from other executives. And this is going to give me the avenue to do it. And you won't even know. I promise I'll have it all stitched up. You're not even going to know I'm doing this. And I won't talk about it too much unless I can grab something from school and bring it to help us immediately. And so the board approved that. And so then I went to B school during my time as CEO.
Which is amazing to layer all that together. But so how did your time at MIT help shape you in terms of what you're doing now with Rithmm?
It shaped everything. So, like, when people talk about education, had I not had that education, I could not be running Rithmm, period. It was terrifying to be in the rooms. There were moments. So I went back to, what did I tell all my athletes? You got to sit in the first 3 rows. All the things that I told the kids that they had to do, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I guess I'm a freshman and I'm doing. And then you're like, whoa, I'm in the first 3 rows and they can ask me at any point a question. And you're just in the room with just incredible people. And what I like about MIT is it's not, they're just super kind. It's like kind people that, there's a lot of smart people in the world, but like there's not as many kind people. And so to be around that kindness was very just fantastic. And it allowed for discussions and vulnerabilities and your fears to all come out, because we all had them. Like, all of us in that room every day were like, should I even be here? Like, but the professors were outstanding. My classmates were ridiculously sharing. And so basically what I was able to do there is that I was taking, a course load. And one of the course loads was called Data Models and Decisions. It's DMD. It's a pretty famous class at MIT. And you're doing predictive modeling there. And I'm not a quant. Um, and so this was hard. I had a tutor, and and this was really deep math, and that's where Rithmm was formed. I came up with the idea during class one day. Like, I just stopped listening and started writing down my idea of Rithmm, and then I was able to take Rithmm. There's a part of your course load. You can go to a lab called Idea Lab, where you take your idea into a lab, and then basically you battle test that idea with, all of it, the economics, the marketing, the consumer, like the whole structure of the company. Um, you get battle tested, and you're presenting in front of your peers all the time, and it's and then you walk out of there either like, I don't have a company on my hands, or I do have one on my hands if I choose to go pursue that. And so I got all the framework. Um, I would have never known, even though I've been in a startup, you know, very different startup. This is a tech company. This is a B2C company. The other company was non-tech. It was B2B. Certainly some skills transfer there, but like, there's plenty of things I didn't know about that I would not have known had I not been to MIT. So it's incredible. I would never do it again either. So yeah.
All right. So you took that course and kind of that moment where you started sketching out Rithmm. So let's
Mhm.
talk about the company that you are now founder and CEO of, Rithmm. What is Rithmm?
Yeah, so Rithmm, so the inception was this: sitting in class, doing predictive modeling, and then we were going to take our predictive modeling back to the companies that all of us were running or owning or part of, right? And we were using it to make pretty massive decisions, like using data to make decisions and trying to predict what's going to happen. That's hard, but the data's there, the math is there. If you do it right, you can make really beautiful models. Um, and so the thesis was, why aren't more people using predictive models for sports betting? And the reality was, when I did all the research, was that it's typically most people don't have access to it. B, the ones that are doing it on a spreadsheet. It's not dynamic. Odds are changing every 5 minutes. So that's hard to do. It's dynamic. It's costly. The data is costly. The right data is costly. And it's super nerdy. So selling really nerdy products is a very low TAM, total addressable market. And it's not for, so what was available was, if you were a professional sports bettor, you had a team of quants that were running models for you all day long, and you're paying those people to do it. And then you're able to be a professional bettor because you have the tools there. Then there's this other very low addressable market of advanced people that have built some rudimentary Excel spreadsheet doing predictive modeling. And this is before LLMs too, which we can get to. Those are language models. These are math models, but we can get to that. So people are just having these spreadsheets and trying to make something happen. So my thesis was that, what if we could bring professional grade predictive models to everyday sports bettors, and now what we'd call sports traders? That would be cool. We would have to have super complexity on the back end of the app to pump out really simplicity on the front end, so people can take these models, and then we're the decision layer, and then where you take that decision is up to you, to the sports books, to wherever you're making a bet or a trade, right? Or a contest, whatever. And so that's what Rithmm is. We are a sports betting and trading app. You will have access to professional grade predictive models. There's a couple ways you can do it. You can have Rithmm build you those models, which every user, once they're on, they get access to what we would call our house model. So you can go right into decision making. Side note, that's not what we did in the beginning. We made people build their models, and that was a dumb idea. And then number two, you can have Rithmm. You can go in and you can have up to 3 models, and you can go in and have Rithmm build you another model, or you can customize your own. So there's a lot of people that like personalization. So we made it really simple. We obviously have a higher tier, which we won't get into, that is for really in-depth people that want to, it's really cool, but like, there's not, the market out there isn't large for that. but you can really drill into what you'd want in that model. But what we've done here is this. Let's just take basketball. We have 5 factors, and you basically weight those factors. So you have offense, defense, 3-pointers, fouls, and tempo. And let's say you're like, I think I like high tempo and I like 3-pointers. You would just weight that. Beneath those factors, our quants have done, all the work to say, here are the statistics that actually matter. So then we back test it for 3 years. So the user gets to see, hey, I just built this model. It back tested for 3 years. Did it back test well? Because that's the only way you can really understand a predictive model. You have to go back in time and see, did this perform well the last 3 years before you can tell, can it perform well in the future? So we do a back test of 3 years on every model we make. We show it to the user. Obviously, it's very simple. Shows you every possible bet in the last 3 years. Had you had this model, what it would have done. And is it green? Is it profitable? Is it yellow? Was it okay? Or is it red? Did you build a bad model? And if you did, you delete it. And then the other way is you go to the leaderboard and copy a battle tested model that's winning. That's really cool. And there's another evolution that we're building as we speak to make this even easier, where it's more of an autopilot, where we're just going to be subbing in we have over 1 million predictive models built that we're serving people. And we're just going to be putting people that want to go on autopilot, where we would just serve in the top performing models. And when we see regression starting to happen, we'd pop that out and serve you another one that's on the rise. So that's coming. But at the core of what we do, we're a predictive modeling company built for sports bettors and sports traders that give you access to 3 years of back testing, 11 years of data per sport. And it will tell you, here is a recommended bet. Here is a caution bet. It's another thing I like. We show recommended and caution, because there are times where the best decision is to stay away. Like the model just can't find a good bet here. And so that's what we do.
Do you think we could do it like a quick demo? Like, people like demos. So.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the app. So the person downloads the app and they're on the home screen. And I've got it on NBA right now. Okay. So then what's next is, if you like props, so there's 2 toggles. Maybe you like to bet games, maybe you like to bet props, maybe you like to bet both. But let's just, for the example, let's pick the user touches props. Again, we've already given the user the Rithmm house model, so they can go right into decision making. And so I've clicked props. And so now you're going to see a green star. Basically, it's very simple. That is a recommended bet. And on that recommendation, it shows what the prop is, what the sports book, what the odds are, and then what the model is saying. So for this one, it's Jalen Wells. Let me put my glasses on. He's a shooting guard for the Warriors, and it says, hey, the sportsbook's line is 4.5 on rebounds and assists. Take the over. The Rithmm, and it says here, the Rithmm model predicts 8.7 rebounds and assists, and the win chance, the probability of that happening is 63.2%. And then our edge, we call distance to market, DTM. It's proprietary, but that is essentially what people would consider an edge. It's at 28.2, so that's the distance from the sports book and what we believe. And then we also show them trends. And so you can, if you can see there, so that's, maybe you can see all of that is available for every user. And then if you click into, and then if you click into the, we call that the bet card. If you click into it, then you can look at trends, which are not predictive. But people like trends, and you can show, here's what he's done the last couple of games, how many overs have hit, how many unders have hit. They like that. Then what's really cool is we show all the injuries, so who's playing tonight and who's out, and we auto-populate that in the model. Like, people ask us all the time, like, are you accounting for injuries? Absolutely. And it just automatically recalculates as an injury gets reported. And then also on this, you can line shop. So what's really cool, you can line shop. And I've got to find one where all the lines are up right now, because some of these props, like, they take their time on the lines take their time, but hang tight. So here's one. So now you can line shop. So we show the best lines available. And then if you want to go right to the best line, you literally just click this button. Yeah, you click this button. So let's say you're like, hey, I want Djokovic tonight. He's got his PRA is on the under. All right, the model is saying that. Okay, cool. You click this little button and it goes and it creates a bet slip for you. And then you can send it right to the bet slip. The bet slip goes right to the sports book, whichever you want. and it's
Okay, so it's
chronologically
all
ordered by the
integrated.
best price available. Yeah. So in one click, then I would say, hey, let's say this one book has plus 100, the next book has minus 112. So I would want to take the plus 100 on this one, and then I just literally tap that button, and it goes right to the sports book.
Right.
And
That's
it
awesome.
pops
Yeah.
up the bet slip pops up, and you can do that with a single bet if you put together a 3-leg parlay, or if you want to bet 5 singles. Again, it just sends a slip to the sports book. So we made that really frictionless. So you can, like I said, we're the decision layer. Where you take your bet is up to you, but we're going to show you the best possible places to take your bet based on price. If you want to bet like that, which why wouldn't you? Even if you are a rec better, which we get 90% of our users are recreational, and what is deemed on the market as recreational and casual bettors. And they want to move fast. They want to go from decision, let me get my bet in before odds change. And so we have that now.
Now, this is a subscription product, right? So the end user, the consumer, is paying Rithmm a monthly or annual subscription.
They are. It's $29.99 a month for core. You get access to every sport that's available. We don't charge per sport. So you can imagine, so right now, we've got NBA, props and games that you have access to. You have college basketball, all games, no props. You have MLB coming, all props and games. WNBA, all props and games. NFL, all props and games. College football, only games, and then golf. All of that for $29.99 a month. Now, there is another level at $99 a month. That would be for an advanced sports bettor that wants to build models from scratch, but layer it on top of our tech. Again, super cool, but if you're a data nerd, that's your one that you want. About 5% of our users are on premium.
Okay, and you've raised 3 rounds of capital, so a pre-seed, seed plus, so 8.75 million total.
Correct.
From early investors in DraftKings, and right, so an amazing list of investors.
Yeah, we have a great cap table. Our cap table is phenomenal. So we have people that have been around this business that understand where it's going, where it's been and where it's going, and that's super key. And then we have another kind of other bunch of angel investors that again come with a wealth of information and and their networks are massive. So our cap table is unbelievable.
Okay, so I love seeing another consumer company in Boston. There's people don't give Boston enough credit for the consumer companies that exist, but there is a fair amount, and I'm excited about Rithmm being one of them. What I think people are thinking about when it comes to a consumer company, though, is acquisition. How are you acquiring your consumers to download and pay for the app? Like that's the tricky thing to make happen.
It sure is. Everybody says like, "Oh, why did you go to the dark side of the B2C?" It's like the hardest business possible, right? Um, but no good answer. It's like I had a vision and we're gonna fulfill that vision. And so we really we're a consumer company. Certainly we have some B2B plays here and API fees that we can generate revenue off of, no doubt. Partnerships. But ultimately, you're right. It is like, how are you going to acquire these users? There's obviously, and it's a wild time right now. Okay, so when I say like the old times, I'm talking like 6 months ago when we're talking acquisition strategy is old. Like I'm getting on a call right after this with some of our marketing folks, and we're recalibrating what we're seeing on the market of what looks like is going to be driving more acquisition. But ultimately, you need diversity in acquisition channels. We're driving about 46% of our acquisition organically right now, which is amazing. And then, and then the rest is, some partnerships. And then on the paid side is, you're in the paid acquisition typical channels. But you're trying to create this flywheel, of course, parlaying organic maybe into your paid, and then it decreases your paid cost. Like there's a whole system there of how to acquire customers. And again, the consumer is changing dramatically every day. And you better be fine with you. You have to be in the front lines. You need to be on TikTok. You need to be, that's where I live. I live on TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, and you need to be in Reddit. You need to be in these places because it's an evolving, they're just the speed of tech right now, and the consumers changing, and Gen Z coming in now to the framework and what they want versus what you and I want and what millennials want is very different. And you better understand their consumer behaviors because that is where the market is. And how do they view brands? What are they comfortable with? Like you have to know all this side of the business. So it's like, oh, you're building a tech company, great. So your tech better work. So your models have to work. The tech better work. The engineering better work. But there's no glitches, no outages, because there's just such computation dynamically. It's a lot. The premier engineering we've done is crazy to do this, to do layer personalization on top of a model and have over 1 million of them built and scale. And then you better know the marketing piece and the consumer behavior and consumer psychology piece. It's a lot to do. My days are endless.
Now you've built this Rithmm, and it's what I think is fascinating about building companies now is how much you could do with less of a dedicated manpower team, right? Like before you raise 8 million, you'd have to hire like an army of people to build software and, you know, your infrastructure and everything. So talk about that dynamic of what you've built with the current team.
It's amazing. We're heavy on AI. So obviously we're an AI company. 3 years ago when we came out with like, we're an AI company, we were told, stop saying you're an AI company. That has been the biggest evolution is like, yeah.
You're
so
a
we had to
SaaS
stop
company.
saying it. Yeah, you're a SaaS company. Stop. People are scared of AI. So we were like, oh my God. So then we were like, okay, we're not AI, but we are AI. We're, you know, what we are doing. Predictive modeling is a subset of AI. So we're doing machine learning. But people, then LLMs came out, right? And then people were like, AI. And now people expect AI in their lives. And so like that happened. So that's cool. And then to answer your question is, how is Rithmm leveraging that internally? And I can tell you that 80% of what we do is leveraging the AI tools that are available, and 20% is then left to the human that is project managing the AI. And also the modeling that we do we still need quants, like period. That's a whole nother podcast of like, you need quants to do that. But the ability for these AI tools to help the quant where they maybe didn't have a team of data scientists that you can take this and go, you know, have like 5 agents running for you that are data scientists, is amazing. But you do still need there's still hallucinations or however you want to call it now. They're getting better every day, but there's still a human judgment that is needed using these agents. We are all using agents on our team. There's no way we could be this lean. We have like 5 full-time employees and then 2 other consultants and then a paid ads guy. Like we would never be able to scale this rapidly and have the amount of users that we have today and really scale it. It's been amazing without this transformation of technology that's happened. And we're a company that like is all in on it, and every day it's a mandate. Like it's a mandate. I made it a mandate. Like build time in to go build an agent. Come back and tell the team what the agent can do. We all need to be reading on Twitter or X. We all need to be in these places. And then let's test. Like we're building time into our days, as limited as that is, to test agents and building agents to do the work for us. It's awesome. I would tell everyone to do it. I would tell everyone like don't be afraid of it. It's not gonna like in the amount of learning that you get to do, like that's what I love about this. Like not only are you learning with, you know, Elon Musk calls it eating glass every day with company. Like he was like, when you do a startup, you're eating glass every day. He is totally right. You're eating glass every day. But the good news about the eating glass part, if there's any, is that the amount of learning that you're getting with AI right now, like the amount of learning that the skill sets you're building, and because you have logic and judgment, and you just don't have to go do it now is like awesome. So I would tell everyone just go for it.
I mean, so I don't know. I have three thoughts running through my mind right now. First is I listened to Lenny's podcast a bunch, and he had recently had the head of engineering for Claude on his podcast, and the head of engineering's like, I don't write code. Claude writes the code for Claude. I'm just like, what? That's just blew my mind that this, you know, this AI is writing its own code for its own AI. It's just like mind blown. Second, I hosted a startup fundraising event last week in Boston, and before people, so it was, the founder panel was speaking, and, they expect people to use AI now during the interview process. If you look back a year, 18 months ago, people would be like, that's cheating. Go build. Just, you got to go build, because you're going to fall behind. If you're not building, you're going to fall way behind your career. So yeah, it's I'm going to date myself, but I got involved in the tech industry in 98, and I have never seen anything like this over the past, 2 years, year, 6 months. It just keeps getting crazier.
You can say what you want. There's obviously negatives, but like, I'm just like, I can't believe the time that I'm in right now. I'm loving it. And even our engineers, like our lead engineer, he was like, anyone can code. Let's be honest. Anyone can code. Like the dirty little secrets are now like popping in it. Like anybody can. Before that was like, I'm a coder. I can code fast. I can code, now it's like anyone can code. It can code, but you need prompt engineering, you need logic, you need project management over these things. And so there is that human piece that is still mandatory to do this, but my God, like when you're designing like Figma, we could get so nerdy here. Like the amount that Figma has changed in the plugins now in Figma, like you don't really even need a UX UI designer. Again, you have to have some piece of, but like our product manager is the UX UI designer now with the AI. Sometimes we're like, let's just here's what we want. Let's have AI just do it and see what it comes at us with, and then we can iterate from there. And it's been fantastic. We thought we were moving fast. This is speed of light stuff now. So cool.
So you're a female founder, and again, I have two girls in college, and I'm always preaching the entrepreneurial path. So we'll see, but we need more female founders. So what advice would you have for other females that are thinking of starting a company?
Well, here's the thing. You gotta, like, with females, and this was with coaching. I mean, like and myself, let me be really clear, and I'm better at it now than I ever was. But like early on, I thought I needed to be, like, I turned down head coaching jobs because I'm like, I'm not ready. And I remember like a fundamental moment of could have had this head coaching job at a lower Division I school, and it would have been a great entry point. And my dad was like, take the job. And I was like, oh, I'm not ready for this. And he's like, you're ready. What are you talking about? And I literally was like, no, I'm not. Like, I need to know more about, and thinking back was ridiculous, but like, I thought I needed to be an expert in all these places. And I'm like, what I'll do next year is I'll go do more of this type of coaching over here so I can understand. And he was like, couldn't even believe it. He thought that was like craziest thing that I would turn this down. And he was right. I didn't want to, tell him that at the time. What kid wants to do that? But he was right. And that's the difference between men and women. Men are going to go for it. Women think they need to be perfect at everything, and I understand why, right? We do need to overachieve to get in rooms. It's true. However, I can tell you the dirty secret out there is just go jump in. You're like, you don't have to be perfect at everything. You are ready now. I'm around lots of people. Trust me on this. Like, I would tell all females that are thinking about going into a business, go do it. You can do it. You do not need to be perfect. And that's what I think holds a lot of them back, A. And then B, there is something to be said about getting funded. Like, it's a bad, I can't make that sound better. The reality is this. It's like maybe 2%, 1.7, I think the last time I read, VC money goes to female founded companies. That's bad. So I think you just got to go into it eyes wide open also. And I'm kind of like one of those people to like, this is the reality I'm in. So what you can do is you can go get a co-founder, a male co-founder. You can get that up to 11%. Still not awesome, but like if you do that, you'll have better odds. Those are things to think about. But you got to go into it with like that is a reality, and that's my advice. Go into it. You don't need to be perfect. If you're thinking about it, go do it. And number two, know that it is going to be hard raising money because simply put, the odds are not there. Probability wise, math just doesn't math. So you're going to have to probably work 1,000 times harder to get the money and just know it. And it is what it is. Like you're not going to change the system right now. Like if you're an entrepreneur, like all your time and energy is going into your company and raising, like you're going to hope systems change around you, but like you just got to know that's what's happening. You got to just be, not, I don't want you to say be okay with it, but like, this is the reality. Go into it with eyes wide open and just know that like, you're probably going to get told no a lot more than yes. And like, that's part of it. And you got to just have that and just know that. Surround yourself with really great people that can support you during that time. That's what I would tell them. But I want more women involved for sure.
Well, going back to the startup fundraising event that I hosted last week with the founder panel, they were all emphasizing perfect your pitch, right? So how did you go about that fundraise and getting to the point where the investors were leaning in and being like, wait, okay, versus what?
Yeah. Well, that is like, for me, that wasn't something I had a lot hard time with because I've been recruiting my whole life. Then when I went to Pharmalogics, I was the head of business development. So my job was to get in front of people and pitch for my entire life. And so that was easy for me. Like pitching is easy for me. So yes, you got to get your pitch down. I would happily help anybody getting their pitch down, but that is something that I'm like, this is this is one thing I know I bring to the table is I can get a story to an investor in a manner that can grab attention and be leveled in logic and details, but not too far down where it makes people go, "What are you talking about?" Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it goes back to, I think, you as, recruiting players, like you had to tell a story to this athlete of why you or your team, your program versus the next program. So storytelling is so important in every aspect of so many things that people don't even think about. So,
Totally true.
so get it down. All right. 3 apps you can't live without. Can't be your own app: Slack, calendar, or email.
3 apps are right now for me is X and TikTok and Instagram for marketing purposes. I cannot live without
Right.
those.
Following the trends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. How about a good podcast or book recommendation for entrepreneurs?
I don't have like, so all of my time is spent reading about AI. So the only time I
Okay.
have, yeah, like that's all. I'm
What do you
not
use for
reading
that?
books. Yeah, I'm not
Right. Is
anything
it
on.
Reddit? Like, where do you find your AI information?
I find it on Reddit and I find it on X and I find it from the companies that we're working with that are pumping out, like think of like Revenue Cat or Apps Flyer. These are places that are, and Carta, where it's like they have access to every startup or they have access to every app in the world and what's driving downloads and and then from a psychology standpoint, what is Gen Z looking to? So anything I can get my hands on. And then obviously I'm also on reading about publications that are coming out with like better prompt engineering. Like MIT came out with one, and I'm using that. So all of my devoted time for reading is no longer books. It is just going and finding articles that are well documented and following people that are on the cusp, cutting edge on X of AI, and then drilling down into their networks and then going other places. That's where all of my and then the only podcast that I listen to right now is for pure entertainment when I have time. And that is Good Hang with Amy Poehler. that's it. So I have no good podcasts for an entrepreneur because I spend all my other energy. I mean, obviously I'm listening to a couple here and there when there's a good one, like, um, the guy that created OpenClaw, like I listened to his last podcast, and with Lex. And so, but to be honest with you, like it's a hodgepodge.
All right. How do you look at Rithmm and ultimately its success? Like, how do you define success for Rithmm?
Yes, it will be from just like scoreboard, which I'm a big scoreboard person. Like we need to win. Success is this, that there's an amount of users that we want on this app. Like you know, I believe Rithmm can be in 1 million users' hands easily across globally. Now we need some global sports in there to reach that. But it's smart enough and it's helpful enough and it's simple enough to be in 1 million users' hands to help them make decisions for sure. Is that how I'm defining success? That's the North Star for me. I want it to be in stadiums. I want it accessible to people. I want to help people make smarter decisions. So success will be, from a business standpoint, is getting into this to the hands of people that want to make smarter decisions and want their own model. Like I truly believe the word predictive model will be in mainstream very fast. Where when I first started the company, I had somebody say, "This could never be on a billboard. It can't be a company. What would you put on a billboard?" And that was like a good
Data,
question, to be honest with you. Well, it's kind of like 3 years
data.
ago. It was a good question, right? Like, what are you going to put, models? Like, no one, they're going to think it's a model. Like, so good question. But there's now a path for that. And I truly believe that. I believe people will have predictive models run, and I'm happy that we're on the forefront of it. So that will be my biggest thing is success is like our consumers have a demand. They demand a smart application. They have smart applications out there. We want to be that in the sports betting space. We want to be like the Aura Rings. We want to be the Whoops. We want to be the Spotify's. We want to be that for sports betting. That's what we desire, and that's not, and we're building that. Those are the kind of apps that are inspirational for us. And so, when you take something that's illegal, and then bring it to legalization, the people that have been using it during the illegal times were just stuck with whatever, they didn't even have any agency of what, they had zero agency. They get what they get. They can't tell anybody they're using it because it's illegal. But that's changed. And now the Gen Z that's coming up where this was legal, now they're like, there's a demand for a great consumer app in the sports betting space that doesn't feel like it's from 10 years ago. And so that's what we're building.
Uh, and yeah, timing is everything. And I couldn't like it when I first learned about your company and what you're building. I was like, this is perfect timing because the foundation, like you said, the Gen Z, like the foundation's been built by all the sports books. So the Gen Z they're coming into, like that's what they do. Like, when I talk to my daughter's friends, they're betting and they did just what they do. It's entertainment. And so that foundation layer has been laid of that consumer using these apps. And now they want to get more sophisticated because they are used to using AI and all these other things.
Right.
So it's just like the timing of what you're building. I'm like, this is perfect. So Megan, thanks so much for taking the time to walk us through all your background story, the different chapters. And of course, I'm super excited about, seeing where Rithmm goes from here.
I appreciate it. This has been fantastic. Thank you for having me. Thank you for listening to my story. And just, this has been wonderful. Appreciate you.